Hello dear student, I am Zhussubalina and I am a teacher at the Department of Modern Languages and Translation Studies. So let me introduce you the lecture on the discipline key concepts in translation studies. So the lecture today is called Audiovisual Translation. So audiovisual translation is a subfield of translation studies that deals with translation of media products combining verbal and non-verbal elements, such as films, TV shows, video games, advertisements, and online content. So as globalization and digital media consumption grow, audiovisual translation plays an increasingly vital role in cross-cultural communication. So this lecture explores the types, methods, and challenges of audiovisual translation, focusing on subtitling, dubbing, voiceover, and localization with examples in Kazakh and Russian. So audiovisual translation involves translating content that includes spoken dialogues, written texts, usually it's on screen, and visual and audio elements such as music, facial expressions, gestures, and cultural cues. So the main forms of audiovisual translation includes subtitling, dubbing, voiceover, audio description, localization of video games, and software. So each method presents unique challenges and requires specific strategies. So subtitling is the most common form of audiovisual translation. It involves translating spoken dialogue into written text displayed on the screen. Usually it is given at the bottom of the screen. So the key constraints of subtitling is synchronization with speech and visuals. The time each subtitle appears for about 3-6 seconds, and space is also important, 35-40 characters per line, maximum 2 lines. So what are the features of subtitling? For example, the text, the translation is "I'll be right back," and in Russian the subtitling should be written as "Я скоро вернусь," and in Kazakh "Мен қазір келемін." So this sentence is short and fits easily into subtitles. However, the translator must ensure the subtitle appears and disappears in sync with the character speech. Tone is also important. The phrase is informal and calm. So the phrase as "you can't be serious," so in Russian should sound in a question form. "Ты это серьезно?" and in Kazakh "Raspa." So this is an example of an emotional expression. The Russian and Kazakh version must convey surprise and disbelief. So literal translation might sound unnatural or overly formal. So another one is dubbing, features and techniques. Dubbing replaces the original spoken dialogue with translated version spoken by actors in the target language. It requires lip syncing, matching mouth movement, voice acting that matches tone, emotion, and character personality, and also dialogue adaptation. So this example we cannot display, so you can find it in the video, the link that is given in the bottom of this video. So dubbing, let's talk about dubbing. So the features and techniques for dubbing. So the text, we have to find a way out now. So in Russian should be translated as "Нам нужно немедленно найти выход." And in Kazakh, "Азырақ шығатын жол табуымыз керек." So to match lip movement, phrases may need to be shortened or restructured. For example, the Kazakh version may reduce syllables to better align with the mouth movement. Another example is "That is just perfect." So in Russian sounds in sarcastic way, "Просто замечательно." And in Kazakh, "Керемет." So tone is crucial here. The phrase is sarcastic. A literal translation like "это просто идеально" or just "это идеально" would miss the sarcasm. So the translator must select a culturally appropriate equivalent with the same attitude. Another type of audiovisual translation is voice-over translation. So it is common in documentaries and interviews. So the original voice remains audible in the background with the translation spoken over it. So, for example, my name is John and I have been researching climate change for 10 years. So, in Russian, меня зовут Джон, я исследую изменение климата уже 10 лет. In Kazakh it sounds as менің атым Джон, мен 10 жылдан бері климаттың өзгеруін зерттеп жүрмін. So, voice over must be concise, clear, timed slightly after the speaker begins. It is less constrained by lip sync, but must still maintain natural speech rhythm. So another example was taken from the interview given by French and US President. So you can watch the video that was given in the link below this lecture. So cultural adaptation and localization. So audiovisual translation must often adopt cultural specific reference such as idioms, jokes, gestures, food, and institutions. So example is he is as busy as bee. So in Russian он как белка в колесе. So you may notice that the insect bee is changed to the another animal. It is a squirrel, белка in Russian. So in Kazakh it sounds as all құмырсқада еңбекқор. So the bee is changed to another insect in Kazakh. So the equivalent for this phrase. So this idiom exists in both Russian and Kazakh culture. So a literal translation works. However, some idioms don't translate directly. He got a D on his report card. So in Russian он получил трояк or тройку, and in Kazakh all ышалды. So in English grades use A, B, C, D, E letters, but Russian and Kazakh use from 5-point to 10-point system. So the translator must adapt to the local educational system. So translating humor and wordplay. So comedy and puns are among the hardest audiovisual challenges. For example, why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. So this is translated into Russian as почему ученые не доверяют атомам? Потому что они все выдумывают. So, and in Kazakh ғалымдар неге атомдарға сенбейді? Себебі олар бәрін құрастырады. So there is a wordplay. This joke relies on the double meaning of makeup. So the Russian and Kazakh version must find similar wordplay. So in Kazakh құрастырады, the translation for the word construct carries the intended pun. So some audiovisual translations must modify or omit content due to cultural, political, or religious reasons. For example, the sentence was taken from a film scene, explicit violence and profanity. So in Russian, maybe toned down or translated euphemistically, and in Kazakh it should have sensitive content, maybe removed or replaced with general wording. So another one is, for example, God damn it. So this should translate in Russian, черт побери, да что ж такое? And in Kazakh, тьфу, масқара. О, бұл не сұмдық. Swearing or religious reference may be inappropriate in some cultures. So translators must adjust language while preserving emotional tone. So synchronization techniques involve matching the translation with visual sounds and lip movement. So the types are lip sync, exact match with mouth movement, kinetic sync, body language and gestures, and isochrony, duration match. So the original English phrase no way, so in Russian sounds ни за что, and in Kazakh еш қашан. These phrases are short and expressive, so they easily match mouth movement and timing in all three languages. So children's content must use simpler language, cultural adaptations, and maintain humor and rhythm. So the phrase let's go on an adventure, so in Russian should be translated as пойдем or поедем в приключения, and in Kazakh кель шытырман оқиғаға аттанайық. So the Kazakh version adds play and excitement to match tone. Simpler structures help children understand. So video games include gameplay text, dialogues, instruction, menus, and cultural elements. So for example, the people who play some video games may know that this phrase is very common in them. So the game over, in Russian игра окончена, and in Kazakh oyun ayaktaldı. So another phrase is save progress, which should be translated as сохранить изменения, and in Kazakh oyundu сақтау. So clarity and consistency are crucial. So some terms like save may have multiple meanings. So context must be clear. So modern audiovisual translation uses softwares like Sub for subtitling, MemoQ, and SDL traders. However, human translators are essential for humor, cultural nuances, emotions, and tones. So automatic subtitle, he spilled the beans. So the Russian, он пролил бобы. And in Kazakh, ол бұршақты төгіп алды. So we can see that the translation is incorrect here. So the machine translation is incorrect here. So the human translation will sound as он выдал секрет. So the idiom spill the beans should be translated this way. And in Kazakh, ол құпияны ашып қойды. So machine translation miss idioms and figurative meaning. So what challenges do translators face during translating multimodal elements? So multimodal audiovisual translation includes images, background music, typography, and visual cues. So the text on the screen, breaking news, in Russian should be translated as срочные новости, and in Kazakh жедел жаңалықтар. If text is a part of a graphic, it may require re-editing or subtitling below the image. So audiovisual translation is a dynamic and interdisciplinary field that bridges language, culture, and technology. So it requires creativity, linguistic skills, cultural awareness, and technical knowledge. So subtitling, dubbing, and voiceover each pose unique challenges. So, but all demand careful adaptation of tone, timing, and meaning. So as digital content multiplies, skilled audiovisual translators are in high demand. By studying examples in Kazakh, Russian, and English, students can appreciate the nuances of audiovisual translation and develop strategies to address them effectively. So I hope my lecture was interesting and informative for you. Thank you for your attention.